Here we are, Friday, January the 19th, and it's +2. We're starting out at the entrance area here, but we're going to explore a slightly different area today. An area that we don't typically go into, and have really taken the attitude up until this point of not being distracted by it. As we have focused primarily on the produce and kitchen gardens, and then worked our way through the entrance beds, and then the road garden, and as you see before me, the parking lot garden. So here's a different way. Now I'm just going to scan back to where we've come from. And it may be a bit hard to discern in this picture, but from the top of the driveway into the parking lot, we're probably down between 2 and 3 feet. You can probably see the slope here in the trees just on the edge of the property. And what we're going to do is we're going to, as you can see here, you can see the slope, how the house is higher. Oh, I'm guessing that's 3 feet at least. And there's our watering shed, and if you look in front you'll see the stakes where we've staked out where we have planted Saskatoons. Let's take a closer look. This area has Saskatoons planted, which should do quite well this year, but the ground in between is fairly bare, and the only thing that's grown on it so far is motherwort. And one of our tasks this year will be to minimize the amount of motherwort in this area and replace it with something else. So let me scan back here. The open area here is what we call the tent area. And this is where, during the summer, Parks Canada has a large tent that on rainy days visitors can stay inside, and certainly when there are student groups visiting, it's an opportunity to be inside and still learn about the history of Riel House. Let's go forward. This area to the right, straight ahead and to the left, the other right, straight ahead and to the left is what we call the woodland area, and it's the buffer between the housing development that used to be part of the Riel House property, and it was sold in approximately 1980 and developed much more recently. Most of it was treed in the early 1980s as a landscaping project by Parks Canada. For some reason, this area in front of this house remains fairly open. And then we see more of the woodland area here. Let's move on here. During the summer, the tent actually sits just about here. I'm just going to stop at what would be the corner of the tent. So here we are. You can see from the camera we're down probably 2 to 3 feet below the level of where Riel House is. So we are at towards the bottom of a slope. And this would be the start of the slope towards the river, which is about half a kilometer to the west of us, which, as I mentioned, is now a housing development. This area used to be filled with burdock, and it would be cut down periodically by Parks Canada, unfortunately not before it would seed. And consequently, every year there was new burdock plants, sometimes up to 3 and 4 feet high. We've persuaded Parks Canada not to cut the area, and indeed we've been removing it or deadheading it periodically during the year, because as long as it doesn't go to seed, it will slowly begin to be less plentiful. Burdock's a biannual, and if you get to the seeds, the plant itself will be dead within 2 years, and if you're able to remove the seeds before they're viable, then there will be less and less plants. So each year, since we stopped Parks Canada doing that in 2015, every year has been less, and we're winning that battle, and now it's time to replace that with plants that are not invasive and ones that will help enhance the site. You can see here is an example of a tree that's been cut down and the shoots that have come out from it. And historically, people would cut trees down like this and then harvest these stakes to be used as firewood, or if they were very straight and with certain societies, they would be used as straight timbers, or smaller ones would be used as arrow shafts. So there are several examples of this within the property. This is quite a good one. So let's just scan back to the left here as once we get back out. And you'll see that yes, we are on a slight slope. And whatever we do plant in here, we want to take advantage of that slope and see how we can accent it and make it interesting from a visitor perspective. And that will be part of our tasks for the coming year. So I'm just going to go up to our metal shed, and this is where we keep all our gardening gear during the summer. We really have not gone in this area, and it has remained untouched. We don't harvest wood in here, we don't prune, we just let nature take its course. And any birds that do nest are nesting within this area, and somewhere in here will be where the rabbits live, I'm sure. And then from here, if we scan around the property through this, what we call the wildwood area, pardon me, the woodland area, we come back to this open area that for some reason has been cleared, and it becomes a very interesting area as to what we could potentially do with it. Oh, if you look just to the left of that, there's flamingos at this time of year. Fantastic. I've never seen them so early in the spring, but here they are. They're very still. And I'll attempt to talk quietly so I don't disturb them. So this is an area we're looking to challenge ourselves in the coming year, primarily to the left here. and to see what we can plant in this area. It's relatively untouched. We do harvest or remove burdock seeds, so as you will see here, and I will zoom in, you'll see that, oh, we haven't quite got them all yet. Let's just go find some. There they are. So we have been somewhat remiss in these seeds, and we'll look to remove them before we get to spring. But this area, which we've been watching and nurturing for several years now, the woodland area, is, I think this year will be the time to finally start to put some effort into here to plant native plants that would be appropriate to this woodland area, appropriate to what is sloping to become the river bottom down towards the Red River. So stay tuned, and we'll see how this develops over the next several months.